Hi, and welcome to the final day. It's day 24. We made it. And I'm excited about our juice today and excited to share with you our final recipe. And I'm so glad that you stuck with me, and we're just going to go ahead and get to it. So today we're going to be using pineapple. As I told you before, pineapple is one of my favorite fruits to juice with. And we're going to add in some carrot. We have some green cabbage, and then we have some spinach. So let's get to juicing. And the fruits that we're using, the vegetables that we're using, we've already used before. And like I said, the combination of juices is endless. So the cabbage, we're only going to use a quarter of the cabbage. So this is half. We're only going to use half of that because the cabbage does have a bit of a bitter taste, so we don't want to take away too much of the sweetness from the juice. So we're just going to add a quarter of amount of cabbage. Watch all this orange juiciness come out. Look at that. It is going to turn a little bit green once we add in the spinach. So that's it for our cabbage. And now for the good stuff. We had one to try to get away there. And remember, I said alternate with your fruits and your vegetables because we want to end with the juiciest vegetable or the juiciest fruit last. Because I just put the spinach in last and it doesn't have a lot of juice like the pineapple or the cabbage. So what I'm going to do is, like I did the other day, is I'm going to pour just a little bit of juice back through the chamber just to push everything out. There we go. And we are done with this juice. We'll let the last remaining bit come out. And we'll find the glass to test it. there it is. So we have our orange and yellow from the pineapple. Then we have our green from the spinach. It's a nice olive color. So we're going to give this a sample. That is delicious. Nice hint of the pineapple. You get very little flavor from the cabbage, but it's in there, it's good for you, and it is healthy. So this is our pineapple, carrot, cabbage, spinach juice, and we'll move on to our very last raw food recipe, and it is going to be a treat for you. So our last and final raw food recipe for our 24-day juice adventure together is none other than a raw tiramisu cake. Yes, we're going to be celebrating day 24 with a cake. So happy Advent reaching goal day. We're celebrating with a cake. It's going to be raw, but it's going to be rich. It's going to be very tasty. So the first thing that we're going to do in making our cake is to make the crust. So you see we have our springform pan here, and our crust ingredient includes dried walnuts. These walnuts are not soaked, so for the crust, do not soak those walnuts. So dried walnuts. We have some pitted dates. We have some espresso powder with a little bit of salt, and then we have some coconut oil with some water. So what we're going to do, we're just going to process all of that in our food processor. And it's going to form into a sticky mixture, and then we're just going to press it down into our pan. And then while we make the other layers of the cake, we're going to put that in the freezer. It's smelling good already. Oh, and one other ingredient. Forgot, it's sitting right here in the spoon. It is vanilla extract or vanilla flavoring. And again, all the measurements will either be in the video or in the recipe book. Make sure we scrape down the sides, and it's starting to form in a ball. You know it's ready when it starts to form into a ball, because we want to make sure that all the liquid gets absorbed so that we have a pretty well blended crust. And I believe it's almost ready. We're going to give it one more spin. Make sure everything is rolled in together. Little section over here is stuck, so let me help move it around right there. Okay. And one way to tell if your crust is ready to make sure all the nuts are grounded up. Because remember, we put those walnuts in whole, and we need those small, chopped up, and blended in well with the dates. So it's very sticky. So we're going to give it one more go. And now I believe it's ready. So there's our mixture. See how well blended that is? So what I'm going to do first is I'm just going to spread it out here on the counter so you can see it. So it's not runny. It's blended in really well. It's not crumbly and it's not runny. So it's the perfect. So on this recipe, you definitely want to make sure you get the measurements correct. All right, we got every little piece out. Okay, so this is our crust. It's going to be nice and sticky. So we're going to go ahead and just press this into our pan and make a nice flat crust. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to wet my hands because it is sticky. Okay, and we're just going to press down. Make sure the bottom is fully covered. And then once the bottom is covered, and if you have any extra, then you can start pushing it up the sides of the pan. But we want to make sure the bottom is covered first. And if you need to use a spoon or an offset spatula, something to help flatten it out, you can definitely do that. In fact, I do have one right here. Let's see, there it is. My offset spatula. So that way I can just get in, mash it down, and spread it to the areas it needs to go. And keeps my hand from sticking to the dough. See how that's working? I'm just spreading the mixture around with the back of the spatula like that. So it makes it a whole lot easier. Now this is a spring-form pan, so I would highly recommend not getting the crust into the crease, because once this is ready, we're just going to pop this open, and then we'll have our crust and our cake all together. And then you can kind of see where some areas are thicker or higher than others. Then that's when you can spread that out and push it more towards the sides, because the middle actually has a little bit of extra hump there. So I'm just going to spread that around. Okay, so I'm going to finish spreading this out, and then we're going to make our first layer, which is going to be our chocolate layer. So now we're ready for the chocolate layer of our tiramisu cake. We've had the crust setting up in the freezer, and now it's time to blend all the ingredients for our chocolate layer. Who likes chocolate? I do. So here we go. This is our blender, and we're going to put all of our ingredients in the blender. So let me get that ready and go over the ingredients. So we have some soaked cashews and some soaked walnuts. And they're soaked because we want them to get nice and creamy and be already soft when we blend them up. And again, we have some more dates, and this is what's going to sweeten up our dish. And we have some vanilla almond milk. We have some agave nectar, which is again some sweetener, and some molasses. Let's get all of that in there. And then we have some olive oil. And then we have some vanilla extract. And we have some more espresso powder and salt. And then last but not least, the chocolate or cacao powder. So now we put this in the blender and get it all nice and creamy. Shake, is this kind of thick in there, so I want to make sure. I don't want to stick the plunger in there because then I have to scrape it off. So if I can get everything blended without the plunger, I don't have to do any extra cleaning. Okay, so let me grab a spatula. And if it is a little difficult to turn, you can just add like a splash of water. Oh, that is velvety smooth. Oh my gosh, if you could see this, I'm going to show it to you. Oh, yes. So I want it to turn for a little bit longer just to make sure everything is grinded up, which it is, but I want a little bit more smoother texture, even though it is almost there. So I'm going to blend it up because there are some things I have to scrape down on the sides, make sure all of that gets in as well. All right, there we go. I think we're ready now. Oh yes, so we are going to go with this. Look how creamy that is. See the swirl in there? That means it's nice and thick and it's not runny. So we're just going to pour this layer in over our crust. Look at that coming out. How many of you grew up when your mom used to make the cake and you'd call for the bowl because you wanted to lick the bowl because you knew there was going to be some cake batter left in there? Or the spindles, or even the spoon. Like somebody would call bowl, I'm going to say I got the spoon, and then somebody would say I got the spindles. But you always wanted to call for the thing that would have the most batter left on it. And then of course mom would always leave a little bit extra because she knew we weren't going to lick the bowl and the spindles and the spoon. Okay, look at all of that coming out. Right. This chocolate looks so good. I don't want to leave no chocolate left behind. Okay. So, oops. It is in there. All right. So right now what we're going to do is we're just going to beat it on the counter and just kind of even it out. Just kind of make sure it's spread out. There we go. Very good. So that is our chocolate layer. So as you can see, without me tilting it, and then we're going to put this back in the freezer, and then we're going to make our vanilla layer. Our next layer is now the cream layer. The ingredients for that is cashews, once again soaked, so they're nice and creamy. Then we have some more vanilla almond milk. We have our, again, coconut oil. We have some agave nectar, which is our sweetener. Make sure I get all of that goodness out of there with my spatula. There we go. And we have, again, some vanilla extract or vanilla flavoring. And, of course, a dash of salt. Oops, that went dancing everywhere. That's how I'm going to be once I bite into this dessert. I'm going to be dancing everywhere because it is so yummy. All right, here we go. The cream layer is just a little runny, and because I have some extra cashews, I'm just going to dump those in just a little bit. Just to thicken it up. Not too much. We will scrape down the sides to make sure everything got blended in. Oh, this looks good, and that vanilla flavoring is making this smell so delicious. We're ready to pour this in. Look at that nice creamy cream layer. Okay, so what we're going to do, we're just going to pour that out on top of our chocolate layer. Now we have to spread this out. Be careful. Now this was sitting in the freezer just so that chocolate layer could firm up, so that when we pour on the cream layer, they're not blending in together. So be real careful as to not press the cream layer into the chocolate layer. We just wanted to spread it out very gently and very lightly on the top. But if it's already set up just a little bit in the freezer, then you shouldn't have any problems with that. So the best thing to do is, and that's why the cream layer is not as thick as the chocolate layer, because it does have to spread around without us touching it too much. So once I get all of the cream layer out of here, then all I'm going to do is just rotate and tilt the pan and kind of let it cover the chocolate on its own. And then if it needs any little help, then I'll use my offset spatula. So see right here, I'm just going to just shake it and just let it kind of cover the chocolate by itself without me pressing on it. And that way I'm not blending them two together. But you have to make sure that that chocolate layer is set, or the chocolate layer will be running as you're tilting the pan. Well, I hope you're ready to eat, because our raw tiramisu cake is ready. As you can see here, we still have it in our spring form pan. It's nice and solid. I kept it in the refrigerator. Typically you would freeze it, but I didn't want to put it in the freezer because of the ice crystals form inside the cake, and I didn't want to be eating ice. So I just left it in the refrigerator and it solidified. So I'm going to pop the spring here and we're going to see how it comes out. Ooh. Okay. Voila. Wow, look at that. Isn't that pretty? Okay, you can see the layers. You can see the chocolate layer. We got our crust layer on the bottom. And of course we have our cream layer on top. And I'm going to dust it with some cocoa powder or some cacao powder or chocolate powder. The fun part of working with desserts. So I just put some cocoa powder in a strainer and I'm just going to tap it. I'm just going to give it a nice covering on the top. And if you want, you can actually do chocolate sprinkles or chocolate curls to give it some more decor also. All right. Okay, so we're going to cut into this, put it on the plate, taste it, and enjoy this raw tiramisu cake. All right, the first piece is always seems to be the hardest to get out. Let's see if I can switch over to a fork. Let's do it this way. All right, it's a little difficult. Let me. All right, I'm gonna switch back to the knife. I'm making sure that I get the crust on the bottom as well. There we go. Uh-oh. Now it won't slide off. Okay, gotta work. There we go. Let's do it from the side. Oops. I cheated. I ate that little end piece. So it is a little runny. Again, you can put this in the freezer so they can firm up. And if you don't want the ice crystals, I would say just leave it in for about an hour or 2 hours just for it to get a little firm. But I didn't want to put it in the freezer. So as you can see the layers, once we cut it, you can see the layers on the inside. You got that crust, you got the chocolate, you got the vanilla flavor, and it tastes amazing. So this is our slice of cake. I drizzled some of my caramel sauce on the bottom, and it is full of flavor. It's nice. It's not too sweet. You can taste all the flavors in there. So I've already tasted, but I'm going to taste it again. Here we go. Wow. All three layers have their own distinct flavor. And when you add them together with this caramel sauce on the bottom, this is delicious. If you didn't want to make a whole cake, what you can also do is make parfait cups. So instead of putting it in a springform pan, just take a jar or a parfait cup or a ramekin and do your layers that way and freeze them individually. That way you have individual servings. That way you don't have to take out the whole cake, slice it, and put it back. This is delicious. I have to eat all of this one. So good. And I love desserts. You've got to make this. Or give me a call. I'll make it for you. This is good. Well, as you can see, I've eaten my whole slice. And I think I'm going to go back for another one. But this is our last day. I'm so excited that we have made it to day 24. Glad that you were able to join with me. Do leave in the comments something that you learned, something that about a dish or about a recipe or about an ingredient that you didn't know before. Like using parsnips, to make rice with for our stir fry. Or, mixing beets and pineapples to make a nice juice. Or even putting mint with lime juice and apples to make a minty lime drink. So drop in the comments. Let me know what you've thought about these last 24 days. Something that you learned, something that you didn't know before. Because raw foods are just amazing to me. All the different recipes that you can make while still maintaining the nutritional quality of the food. Still able to have something sweet, something salty, something crunchy, something soft. We didn't get into breads and crackers and cookies, but just wanted to show you with this cake that desserts and snacks also can be made with raw foods. It's just not about salads, but it's about a whole list of different things that you can have. Like we had soup, we had pasta, We had salads, we had rice, so many things that we can make from raw foods. So let's go to our very last item on our Advent tree, our juice Advent tree for day 24, our last day. And the word is wow. Like, wow. Can't believe it. We made to day 24. I'm glad we made it to day 24. And I'm just wowed by this whole experience. It was definitely a process, definitely a learning experience, definitely something that pushed myself, something that I wanted to achieve and accomplish before the new year. Drop in the comments something that you're looking forward to the new year, something that you're looking and expecting to wow you in 2021. So until next time, do look for your free recipe book via email on tomorrow on December 25th. I'll send that out to you as my special gift to you for joining me for these last 24 days. Until next time.